2025 May Day celebration has once again put the spotlight on the challenges facing Nigerian workers, with labor unions demanding swift government intervention. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) and the Trade Union Congress (TUC) expressed deep concern over rising inflation, electricity tariffs amid poor supply, worsening insecurity and joblessness. Their demands include upward salary reviews, pay-as-you-earn tax transparency, inclusion in fiscal policy making, and the reversal of failed power sector reforms. They also reiterated calls for the implementation of reduced telecom tariffs as earlier promised by the government. Now, Joseph Femi, it's here again. You know, the labor union is demanding a wage review to be able to cope with the current economic challenges. Now, how realistically possible is this?
Well, I will start with saying that Labour are doing their work, they are doing their job. They are not supposed to allow the
government to rest.
Yes, to relax.
To relax,
yes. So they must put something there. And don't forget, it's Labour Day.
Yeah.
They need to say something that will jeer the Nigerian workers that are actually celebrating that day.
Yeah.
Now, coming to your question on how realistic it is, they first started with 480,000 naira, and they were able to agree with the federal government to 70,000 naira.
Yeah.
The question is, how many states? From news, it states that 20 states out of 36 have not still been able to pay the 70,000.
Okay.
So my put to them, my question to the Labour is that what are they doing to those states?
Okay.
Why don't they do the same thing they do to the federal government to ensure that those 20 states also meet up with the 70,000 naira before coming to say you want to review it further? So if 20 out of 36 couldn't meet up with it, then you still want to move it forward. I mean, what exactly are you trying to do?
All right, Olufemi Lawson, quickly, the presidency, rather, there are still words out there that, you know, governors are still reluctant in paying the newly approved minimum wage despite increased allocation. Now, how do we begin to solve the problems of governors who always, you know, fail to align with the welfare of the people? What should we really do to hold governors accountable now? Because from every look of, from the look of things, the governors seem to be, you know, they escape the dagger all the time, and the whole pressure is on the presidency, whereas they also have a responsibility.
I think the first responsibility that government has, particularly the federal government, is to be courageous enough to get that minimum wage law off, you know, the exclusive lists. In the first place, the federal government has no business negotiating wages for state workers. Okay. How can we expect government to negotiate wages for workers in Lagos at the same rate with workers in Ekiti or Zamfara? It is part of the demand for restructuring that we've been talking about. A lot of things are wrong. Some states, even with the capacity to pay, have become so complacent that they behave as if they are poor, they cannot pay, because everybody now relies on the federal government. Virtually all our governors wait for the next 30 days to go to Abuja and cap in hand to get the next allocation and come back home and lament. We must get our states to be productive. That is the first way to address this. Not about the number of amendments, the number of review that we're going to be embarking upon. The workers have right to demand for better wages, because if you look at even the country itself, this is a country where lawmakers on an annual basis purchase new vehicles, purchase new computers, purchase new furniture, new spoons, new kitchen utensils. So you don't expect workers to sit back on 75,000 naira minimum wage for 10 years, for 15 years. But the way out is to get our states to be more productive. For instance, there's no reason, for God's sake, for Zamfara State to pay 75,000 naira minimum wage if you consider the wealth under the soil of Zamfara State. If you go to states like Kogi, states like Plateau, these are states that are wealthy enough to fund the lifestyle not of only the political class but of their workers. But because our states have become unproductive because of the inability of our state to explore and, you know, to profit from their mineral resources, you know, we have find ourselves in a situation whereby states are now struggling to pay a wage of how much is less than $80 or thereabout, you know, monthly for our workers. It's very sad, but the way out is not the number of review of our laws. It's not even by the president calling the governors, you know, the president is the president elected as president. These governors are also elected, you know, in the same like that the president has been elected.
Right.
The way forward is for the president to excuse the federal government from certain responsibility, including negotiating minimum wage on behalf of the state.
Yeah.
To the extent that states can negotiate their minimum wages on the basis of their wealth, on the basis of their productivity, not on the basis of what is dictated from Abuja.
All right. Thank you very much. Just Femi, I know time is already far spent. Now, from everything he said, we can actually see that there's a problem in governance to a great extent. Now, people have been advocating for the review of the Constitution that addresses, governors coming into office. I mean, the barest minimum is you paying workers their salaries. Should it be embedded in the law that if you're a governor, the first and focal thing you must first be able to do is to pay salaries? It is a no-brainer, because it seemed like the governors just go into office, they're given like a blank check to do what they like. I mean, why are governors reluctant to pay salaries if it's the core essence of why workers are in your state?
Okay, we'll come back to the issue of accountability. Now, don't forget to buttress what you said, that federal government has actually increased what they get. It's no longer the 2 to 3 billion naira. It's almost 6 to 8 billion now that they get. So there's no reason why any state should not be able to pay. You understand? And as a governor of a state, you should focus on developing your state. And first thing is to pay your staffs.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Are you sure the people of these states are not holding their governors accountable enough? Because people know how to yell when things are really looking bad for them. Is it that the people should take it into their hands to hold their governors responsible? Like coming out for peaceful protest every time to say, look, you have to do this, or else your governors, your government will not find peace where we are. Why is it that people find it difficult to protest against governors of their states, to put pressure on them for them to work?
So I would rightly say that I support peace. And I will not advise anybody to put laws in their hands, but I would support a protest. Okay. And there are groups, there are labor groups, and so on and so forth, that could come up.
So you're saying labor is not doing enough? Is that what you're saying?
In those states.
In those states.
They are just focused on the federal government. The federal government.
Okay.
The same thing you did to the federal government, do it to the states. Go to the states.
Put pressure on them.
I mean, represent the people, represent the workers.
Okay.
I mean, make sure that they get what they deserve. Okay. Lagos State is doing 85. Okay. So about some states are doing 85. Why can't they also do? Right. If they cannot do, they can give a roadmap. Okay, so these are the reasons
why you should do that. All right, let me get the last final take from Olufemi. Olufemi Lawson, before we finally go, now, what's your, in 20 seconds, how do you expect us to really hold governors accountable for them to start doing their job? Barest minimum is pay salaries.
Well, the pay salary should not even be an issue that we should be discussing as far as governance is concerned. Okay. You work, you deserve your wage. Nobody should. But it is because our states have become so poor, unproductive that almost every 4 years will come out to discuss salary. It is very basic. In fact, in some society, nobody even discuss. What people talk about is your wages, what you should get. Almost everyone are. But now we have to discuss what people get every 30 days, almost on a yearly basis. It's very sad. Right. What is most important is that when we challenge our states to be more productive, we will not be talking about salaries, because automatically our state will be empowered enough
to do what wages, they have to do.
To develop infrastructures and to take care of the needs of the citizens, which is far more than salary.
Olufemi Lawson is really, really nice, and thank you so much for actually having you on the show. And of course, Olufemi Lawson is Center for Corporate Accountability Executive Director. Thank you for your time on our show this evening. Thank you very much. And of course, Jesu Femi, author, speaker, everything, analyst. Thank you for coming on the show as well.
Same here.
Appreciate you. And that's our show for today. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG or on our website at tvcnews.tv. I am Mark Otabo. Until next week, goodbye.